Hello everyone, I hope you're well. It's been a while since I've done a video, so apologies for not being here. I've been busy with lots of things, so I'll do some updates first, and then I will talk about the Kronos, some projects and things I'm looking at, and yeah, all those types of things. I try and keep it somewhat structured, because I've not done a video for a little while, but obviously I've been not here. I now have a small human I need to look after, which has been the best and worst thing in some senses. But now that they're not so new in the world, I've got a little bit more time to get back into my music stuff, which has been fantastic. So yes, that's keeping me very, very busy. Currently away from work, due to go back after next week. So I want to try and get some stuff over the line. And yeah, Kronos. Nodes, what's the situation? So, if you've not seen any of my other videos, please go and watch. But I've now got the Korg Kronos 3 88 hammer action one, and I love it. The hammer action I prefer to my Nord. There's a lot of things that the Nord does that are fantastic, but to be honest, the Kronos does them almost as well. And as I may have hinted at another video, the Nord Stage 3, there's no point me keeping it anymore, so that's going to be getting sold, and at some point I'd either replace it with, say, the Nord Stage 5 when that ever makes a debut in the next couple of years, but instead of getting an 88 hammer action version, I get like a compact or a waterfall synth action, because I think I'm happy with my Kronos. To go into that a little bit more detail, I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way, but people will take, if I say I'm replacing one keyboard with another, people will automatically assume that one is better than the other. That's not the case. There is just different circumstances, scenarios, use cases, and everything else. So for me, I've never really been super happy with the Nord as a MIDI controller. It's okay, fantastic as a live sound, inspirational tool, but using it as a MIDI controller for my DAW, there's no real MIDI control like over the velocity mapping, aftertouch, all that type of stuff. The Kronos it's a master workstation, so the whole point of it is you plug loads of other keyboards into it as well as your DAW, and it does everything. So obviously it's ticking the boxes there. I love the hammer action. I can control using global settings, which affects Cubase, it affects my other keyboards. It's just hitting all the boxes, and also it's got a million more sound design opportunities and things for me. Gonna have to redesign my space. You'll notice the wave is sat here. So that's something I'm now going to need to navigate, but I think it's worth it. Lots of different things to kind of break down, but I'll maybe save that for another video. I'm not doing a comprehensive review of the Kronos just yet, as quite frankly, it's such a deep machine that it's going to take me a while to get there. I'm past the point now where I'm making my own programs, I'm sampling and doing all these things. You may have seen my orchestral stuff. In case you haven't, let me just quickly load up my orchestral patch and just flip the cam down 1 second. Love it. And yeah, it's not perfect. No instrument's perfect though. We've had this discussion. But yeah, it's just, I enjoy it. So the Nord's going. Sorry, I'm getting a bit too animated. The Nord stage 3 is going to go. That then pays for my Kronos basically. Well, it just doesn't just pay for it, and then what I'm going to do is, in my absence and during my feeding times and everything else, there's something really interesting I've observed on the internet, and this goes with the keyboard world as well. So, looking a lot at drum machines and doorless setups, it's not something I'm going to dabble too much into. So I don't mean to kind of attack anyone with this, but it's just a really funny observation. You can get drum machines that do basic, complex, and then you've got the granddaddy. So you've got Electron, Roland, and say like the Korg drum log, right? You've got the Roland TR8S, probably the best drum machine you can get value for money wise. You've then got the Digitact, and you've then got the Rhythm. These are both by Electron. And then you've got like your Behringer RDs, drum logs, etc. If you don't know anything about what even a drum machine is, it's basically, half of the 80s music was made using drum machines. And it's just like a sequence of rhythms that you program in. And there's a beauty to kind of that sound. You know, trap, hip-hop, it's all built on these types of sounds. Techno, there's all like really iconic drum machine sounds, samples, etc., etc. But what people do is they go, oh, well, which one's better? The Digitact 2 or this Behringer one, which is like £300 versus £800? And people go, well, obviously the Behringer one's crap because the Digitact one's better. Yeah, but it's 3 times the price. Also, it's a sampler, it's this, it's that, and the other. Same thing happens with the Roland one. The Roland TR8S, fantastic, but people compare it against, say, the Analog Rhythm, which is, again, 3 times the price. And people get so kind of locked into having the best rather than going, well, yes, but actually, value for money and all these things that you should think of as a consumer, just go out the window. There's a meme about the Korg drum log. When it came out, it was ridiculously expensive, quite underpowered machine. Now it's £300, actually fantastic piece of kit. People compare that to the Digitact and go, oh my god, look how crap this is. And I'm like, yes, but actually, if you compared it against something similar price, you go, this is quite a decent little machine. And it's the same with everything, whether it's keyboards, synths, guitars, pickups, Guitar World. You compare a £600 Mexican-made Squier Strat versus a £3,000 custom Strat. And you go, well, obviously the £3,000 Strat sounds better. And yet the £600 Tele or Strat that's made in Mexico, actually, it still sounds 95% as good. This loops quite nicely into the Nord discussion. I will die on this hill, but I think Nords are fantastic. I do think they are overpriced for the one reason that you're paying Swedish, as far as it's Swedish, please shout me out if I'm wrong on that, but you're paying Swedish people a much higher minimum wage, or whatever the wage is. It might not be anywhere near minimum wage, but you're paying that cost versus, paying, I don't know, Malaysia, China, there used to be Korea. It's all outsourced labour. It's literally the law of economics. Ibanez very, very good at that. All the premium rather than prestige models, instead of them costing £2,000 to £3,000 made in Japan, this ultra luxury, well, they outsource it to be made in Malaysia in the Cork factories. And to be honest, the build quality is very similar. And ultimately, you're getting a piece of wood with 6 strings on it and the same equipment. But there's that law of economics and the scalability and all these things that toss up. That being said, with the Kronos, I think we're recycling technology from 15 years ago, but the technology was so good that it's still relevant today. Same with Nord sound engines. The Nord sound engines aren't actually anything revolutionary, but what Nord do, they do it so well that they can justify selling samples in really fantastic, physical, really easy to play keyboards with massive markups, but they look great. You see them on every single gig, these big shows. It's always nods. You've got all these virtuosos playing them, and you know what? Does it even matter? If Behringer gets lots of hate because it's kind of like they copy lots of main products, and you strip away all that stuff. It's all about what do you as an artist, a musician, actually need. Roland V Stage piano, fantastic piece of kit. Compare it against a Nord, everyone goes, oh, it's rubbish. Yeah, but actually it's £1,000 less. It's the same with the Korg Grand Stage piano. It's half the price of a Nord Stage. The samples aren't half the quality. They're like 90-95% of the same. But the experience is different. So is the feeling and everything else. And I think that's the thing to kind of hook onto is what is it you actually buy with the product? So rant over. Just something really interesting when I've been observing these things and watching on videos. Something else has been interesting. Obviously, I love my orchestral stuff. I love my synth stuff as well. You're going to be seeing a bit more of that at some point. So, one thing I'm kind of down the rabbit hole at the moment is I love all sorts of music. Started off as a metalhead, ended up in jazz. I went into prog metal, jazz, and then somehow ended up at doing orchestral stuff, whatever. But I went from being quite minimalist to now having my workstation computer, my workstation keyboard, and my Cubase template with 160 something different instruments in. And there's a really beautiful minimalism in like techno, psytrance, and all these types of electronic forms of music, where it's not about complex melodies and complex harmonies and things, which is something I've tried to kind of really lock in over the last 6-7 years. But instead it's all about the sound design and actually your drums and your rhythms and your bass and the integration. And it's fascinating to go back to minimalism. So I will be at some point, I've got a lovely little space on top of my Kronos there. I'm going to be getting a new synth rig, I think, over the next couple of months. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 synths in a rack configuration. And then I'll either be using the Kronos as a master controller or, I'll share more on that in the future. But it's been an interesting little thing. Again, this is what happens when you have kids, things change, your identity is remade, and so on and so on. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff. I will do a review properly of the Kronos. I never did one of the Nord, but the Nord stage is going to get sold, as I've said. The funds from that will go towards getting my new synth rig and probably changing my room, because as you can see below, I can't do my nice top-down setup that I used to. I still want to, but it's just, this is a much bigger keyboard. But what I will show is over here. Oops. I've managed to get my orchestral MIDI controller there, and then over the other side, let's just spin that over. I've got this lovely big space here, which I can actually then use. All of this would have been dead space anyway with my desk, so it's interesting. Yeah, that being said, loads of changes happening with YouTube, so my channel might be dead. It's fine, these things happen. But if you are genuinely interested, please comment. But if you are genuinely interested, please comment, like, subscribe, all that really cringeworthy stuff, because quite frankly, the internet's a bit weird. AI and all sorts of stuff at the moment. You have no idea what's genuine and what's not. And whilst I'm a very flawed individual, I will always keep it very real. So, yeah, lots of music stuff to come. Very busy times, so bear with me. But if there's anything you'd like to know, anything you want to ask, whether it's you need advice on like anything at all, or people have been asking lots on my other video about keyboards, recommendations and such, please get in touch. I'm always scrolling and on YouTube, reading and commenting on things. So, yeah, I will leave it there. Thank you for watching. Hopefully that was an exciting little update. And if I've missed anything, I will add it in post. But have a lovely rest of your day.